Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you all for joining us. I'm joined today by several of the most senior law enforcement leaders from across the state to provide an update on efforts with respect to combating burglary in our state and employing the new laws that the legislature and the governor, as well as all of us, worked to pass and put into effect last month. We just had a really tremendous meeting from leaders of law enforcement across the state talking about how we can put an end to burglary here. I'm joined today by First Assistant Attorney General Lindsay Rotolo, the Director of the Division of Criminal Justice, Stephen Furketic. Chief of Detectives from DCJ, Weldon Powell, wanted to be here, and I want to give him a shout out. He's actually working a case right now. Issa Abbasi, the incoming Executive Director and the inaugural Executive Director of the office we launched recently, called the Office of Policing Strategy and Innovation. Lieutenant Colonel of the State Police, Phil Buck, was here. He had to also leave, and he was a valuable contributor to that conversation that we just had, which I'll touch on in a second. And we're joined by many other members of the law enforcement community. PBA President Pete Andreev, who you'll hear from in a moment. PBA Vice President Michael Freeman. Chief John Russo, who is the president of the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police, who you'll also hear from in a moment. Morris County Sheriff Jim Gannon, Morris County Prosecutor Bob Carroll. Did I miss anybody? Nope. And many other law enforcement folks in the room. As I said last month, I joined several of these folks, as well as legislative leaders and Governor Murphy, to announce the signing of tough new laws to combat burglary in this state. The laws create two new crimes: home invasion, a first-degree offense, near offense. If you enter somebody's home and burglarize them with a weapon or injure them or attempt to injure them, you're going to face a very serious penalty. First-degree offense, near offense. We're not messing around here. Second offense, burglary of a dwelling, will allow us for the first time to track home burglary specific to burglary of a residence in the state. So we'll be able to both hold folks accountable, again, a second-degree near offense, another serious offense, but we'll also be able to track it so that we can see trends and respond to it. This has been something that we all take extremely seriously. Look, if you don't feel safe in your home, if someone violates that sanctity of your home, if they break into your home, if they threaten you with violence, if they act in a violent way, or even if you just fear that that's a possibility, there's nothing we can say that will make you feel comfortable. So I want you to know that this problem is being addressed statewide in a coordinated fashion, and the tools that the legislature and the governor have given law enforcement, we're going to use. Among other steps that we're taking is we are creating a statewide burglary task force, incorporating all of the folks up here, led by our Division of Criminal Justice in partnership with the state police. The same way we tackled gun violence, and we are 19% down this year in shootings, below a record decline last year. Last year we had 924 people shot, the lowest number since we've been tracking shootings in the state, and this year we're 19% as of this morning below where we were last year. The same approach we've taken to auto thefts, which we know has been a challenge throughout the state. These are statewide problems. Frankly, they're national problems, but in New Jersey, we're taking a statewide approach to it. This year we're down 12% over last year in auto thefts. That's 2,000 fewer cars stolen today than there were last year. So what we're doing is working, and I want you to know that, and we're going to take the same exact approach with respect to burglaries. What does that mean? It means that anybody who burglarizes a home in the state of New Jersey, we're going to share information about that potential act of violence. We're going to go in and make detention motions so that we can keep folks detained if they're committing a violent act. And rest assured, we're going to make the case, because if you're breaking into somebody's home with a firearm and making them feel unsafe or even threatening to do so, then we have very good arguments to keep you behind bars. And that is what we are going to do. That's what the folks up here are committed to doing, and that's what the brave men and women of law enforcement throughout this state are committed to doing. And as the Attorney General and the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of this state, I assure you that is the approach we are going to take. We are going to get this under control. We are going to keep folks safe. And most importantly, I want them to feel safe in their homes. That is not something that we will mess around with. So my message to New Jersey is very clear. Again, just like we tackled gun violence, if you are thinking of breaking into a home, don't bother. Don't bother. And importantly, if you are thinking of employing a juvenile to do that on your behalf, this statewide approach is going to hold you accountable, and you will be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. We're not messing around here. So I want to be very clear about what we are doing in this state. And I want to thank every law enforcement leader, the County Prosecutors Association, which worked tirelessly with us to get this law passed, the sheriffs, who have been instrumental partners, obviously state police, the Division of Criminal Justice, our law enforcement officers, both represented here by the PBA, and I have to give a shout out to the FOP President Bob Fox, who wanted to be here but couldn't make it last minute, but another critical partner, and the folks from throughout our department, including our new Office of Policing Strategy and Innovation, which is making sure that we're hearing voices from throughout the state to combat whatever public safety challenge we face. We are positioned in New Jersey uniquely. We are able to operate on a statewide basis. We're able to coordinate across jurisdictional lines. We operate with one voice, and I'm extraordinarily proud of the work that we have done to make this state truly the safest state in America when it comes to gun violence, to drive auto thefts back down from where we saw them just a few years ago, and we're going to do the same thing with burglaries. So I thank each and every one of these folks. I thank you for being here, and I am now privileged to turn the podium over to the president of PBA for the state of New Jersey, Pete Andreev.
Thank you, General. Appreciate it. Good afternoon. I'm Peter Andreev with the New Jersey State PBA. Just want to thank the General for his support in getting this bill signed into law, and also Governor Murphy for taking the important steps of signing this measure into law. Residential break-ins, whether to steal a car or personal valuables, are amongst the most frightening experiences any family can face. Far too many New Jerseyans have had their personal safety and their comfort of their homes violated. As a state, we simply had to do something about this. This law will give law enforcement a really powerful tool to fight back against criminal gangs and repeat offenders who know our bail reform laws expedite their return to the streets. The new law now says that home invasions and burglary will mean real punishment for those who violate the sanctity of our residents' home and property. The state PBA hopes it makes a real difference for the peace and security of all of our communities. And again, we want to thank all of our partners here in helping us achieve this, and we look forward to working with them in the future to certainly do that. Thank you for your time.
Among the many partners we have extraordinary chiefs throughout our state. I want to welcome to the podium Chief John Russo from Rutherford, who is the head of the State Association of Chiefs of Police.
Thank you, General. I really do appreciate the invitation to be here today with this great group of law enforcement executives. When we discuss the issue of home invasions, the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police worked diligently to get to the point where we can stand here today and discuss a path forward and an optimistic outlook to what our future crime statistics are going to look like. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge all of our legislative leaders from both parties who really pushed this forward. Special thanks, obviously, to Governor Murphy for signing it, and the primary sponsors of the legislation, Senators Bucco, Stack, Gopal, and Assembly members Stanley, Karabinchek, and Schnall. This past spring, we were able to testify in front of the Senate Judiciary, along with our partners from the PBA and several prosecutors, about this very issue. And I have to say that the legislative action was swift and precise. I am confident that through collaboration with our state, county, and local partners, we will be able to use the resources and tools afforded to law enforcement to target the small group of individuals that we feel are responsible for these crimes. We've done it before, as can be seen with our recent gun violence and shooting reductions, and we will see it again as we move forward with this initiative. So again, I want to thank Attorney General Placken for making this new legislation a priority for law enforcement. And I am confident that all of our communities will surely see the benefits of this in the near future and be able to stay in their homes and not fear someone entering. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I want to underscore this thanks of, importantly, a bipartisan, broad collection of legislators who helped pass these laws, and I want to thank the governor again for signing it. We've now been given the tools, and we're going to use them. I want to also give a shout out. She couldn't make it also last minute, but was instrumental in this. Middlesex County Prosecutor Yolanda Ciccone, who, along with Prosecutor Carroll from Morris County. By the way, they've had a 25% reduction in Morris County in auto thefts over the last 18 months. That's significant, and I want to give the prosecutor and the sheriff and all of that county a tremendous shout out for the work that they're doing. Thank you all again. I'm happy to take some questions. And I think we had some folks who couldn't make it last minute, so Mike, I know you, Tracy, yeah.
I didn't look at the burglary data, but is it trending up, down? You're saying car theft is down. In my town, where I live in New Jersey, you hear often that homes are entered to get the fob. Yeah. Now, is that just because we're hearing more about it, or is it statistically? Can you just discuss the situation with burglaries in New Jersey?
Yeah. So one of the challenges we've had with burglaries was, frankly, not different from what we dealt with auto thefts until a couple years ago when we changed that statute. For whatever reason, when they wrote the burglary statute, and I was reminded today that this dates back to 1979, you can't hold me responsible for that then. But yeah, well, it wouldn't be the first time. But when they wrote that statute, they didn't distinguish between burglary of a residence and burglary of a car or any other building. So we will now. We're now tracking it thanks to the statute. We can track, because we will charge these as burglary of a residence if it's second degree, or home invasion. Again, if you're entering with a firearm or threatening or using force and causing injury to an individual. So we'll now have much better data to be able to track those trends. And part of the way that we've been able to really drive gun violence down, auto thefts down, is by using that data and sharing information. So take somebody who, let's say you got a 20-year-old who is hiring 16-year-olds in multiple counties or sending them to multiple counties. Now we're going to see that. It's going to show up clearly as multiple home burglaries. We're going to see who's involved. We're going to share that information across counties, and our prosecutors are going to be able to go in and seek detention using arguments about the dangerousness of these particular people, in particular the adult that's driving it. So this information sharing and the data collection that we can come from it is how we've been able to drive shootings down to historically low levels. It is how we've turned the tide on auto thefts faster than other states have, and I'm sure we'll do the same. So I don't have a clear answer on the empirical data on burglaries, but we've heard from our residents. Frankly, I've heard the same anecdotal stories, and if anyone feels unsafe in their home, then I'm not fulfilling my mission. My job is to keep folks safe, and we are going to do that. And so these statutes are going to be a huge help in that effort.
So just to understand, it sounds like you haven't until now been able to sort the data from burglaries of cars versus burglaries of homes. So now for the first time you'll be able to figure out whether it's up, down, safe.
Correct. Anecdotally, we do think it's been up, and that's why we're creating a statewide task force to go after it.
And I'm sorry, I think it was you mentioned the organized, that this was an organized crime effort, and you're saying 20-year-olds hiring 16-year-olds. Can you talk a little bit more about who's entering homes?
Yeah, so, it's a case-by-case issue, but we do know, just like we were talking about this in room, with shooters, we know that they're often stealing cars and that it's linked to other crimes. And just like shootings, where we have about 1,000 people or so that are driving shootings in our state, and we know that, same with auto thefts, where we know that it's not like there are 10,000 people out stealing cars. These are organized rings that are targeting particular neighborhoods and moving from neighborhood to neighborhood, which is why a statewide approach has allowed us to drive that down, to catch that kind of conduct and charge them appropriately. Well, we know for auto thefts that cars do often end up at the port or end up on the way to the port, and we've worked closely with the Port Authority to combat that.
Reporter, following up on yesterday's press conference and some of your comments, the story folks that she has interviewed speculate that you are in part made those comments because you're posturing yourself for a future run for office and trying to separate yourself from the current administration. I don't know if you have comments on that.
Who was the reporter?
Sophie.
Okay. Okay. Look, I'm extraordinarily proud to serve in this administration. I'm not trying to separate myself from anything. And I have to laugh a little bit because every time I have done anything, people have speculated that I'm doing it for political purposes. People should know something about me. When I was 23 years old, I moved to San Antonio, Texas, and lived in my friend's mom's house and made $200 a week, taking on a corrupt establishment, and helped install incredible leadership in the south side of San Antonio. A couple years after that, I met Phil Murphy and joined his team almost 10 years ago when very few people were on it, because I believed then that he was committed to cleaning up the state. I come into this job, I take over, supersede the police department in the city of Patterson, and Issa obviously was running that for us. One of the toughest police operations ever done in the state. I said at the time the fragile trust between law enforcement and the community was broken, and 18 months later, crime is down, safety is up, morale in the department is up, and what did people say? That I did that for political purposes. I filed a letter in the line litigation, which was extraordinarily difficult personally, but every court that's looked at it has agreed with me, and I did it because I thought it was the right thing to do, even despite personal costs. People said I did that for political purposes. I bring tough corruption cases, something that I said I would do when I took the oath to uphold the law in this job, something that I've said very clearly throughout my tenure was a priority. People have said, oh, he's doing that for political purposes. Now, I can't change what people say, but I have been consistent in how I have approached this job from day one. And anybody who heard my comments yesterday, they were not directed at any one person, and they certainly were not directed at the governor. But let me be clear. Anybody who looks at what's happened in our state and thinks what I said yesterday was wrong needs to wake up. They need to wake up. Okay? We are caricatured in this state in a way that is unfair to the 9.3 million people who live here and the incredible public servants that I've seen throughout the state because of the acts, frankly, the embarrassing acts of a relative few. When you have a United States Senator literally stuffing his pockets with gold and cash, and you think that's okay, then we have a problem. So I'm not going to back down from saying that tackling corruption is a priority. I'm not going to change my views, but I'm not doing it for politics. This has literally been who I've been since I was fresh out of undergrad. When, trust me, no one thought it was a political decision to move to quit my job in D.C., move to the south side of San Antonio, or quit my job at one of the most prestigious law firms in New York City and join a campaign that nobody thought was going to be successful, because I believed in it, and I believed in the person that was doing it. And I'm proud to serve in this administration. And that's the reason why I said what I said yesterday, because as the chief law enforcement officer of this state, I've seen it. Okay, I've seen it. I've held folks accountable for doing it. And we can't pretend that something isn't happening. People are fed up. They're fed up with it. And I have a job to do, and as long as I have the privilege of holding this office, trust me, I'm going to do it. So sorry, Sophie, for the long answer, but that's how I feel. Any other questions, Mike? Tree?
I should know this, but I don't. Are you still running Patterson?
So, Up until November 22nd, yes. Right. After that, I'll be designated the public safety monitor over Patterson, so I'll still have some level of oversight over the police department, the relationships, making sure that things keep moving in the same direction. The supersession does remain in place. We're just merely designating an officer in charge to see to the day-to-day operations. However, I will still have some oversight in Patterson, yes.
Have you named an officer in charge?
Yes, Patrick Murray, a 40-year veteran of the department.
Yeah, and officer in charge, soon to be officer in charge Murray, we couldn't be in better hands. He is an incredible leader in Patterson, signed up to help us literally on day one. I'm confident, including with the monitor team, that's going to continue. Issa's not going anywhere, but officer in charge Murray will take over the day-to-day operations. But the progress we've made in Patterson has been undeniable and will continue. I want to thank the folks behind me for the work they do, and importantly for the brave work done each and every day by the women and men who work with and for them. And I want to thank everyone out there for understanding that we're taking this extremely seriously. Thank you.